When I was young, around 12 or 13, my friends and I used to go bowling all the time. There was this old alley just down the block from our houses. It was super cheap and affordable, perfect for a bunch of teenagers with no money. We'd always go on weekend nights, usually around 8 p.m. The bowling alley was always crowded, and sometimes we'd see familiar faces. There was this one older man who would sometimes be there, always bowling alone on the adult side where they served alcohol. We had nicknamed him Creeper Bob. We first noticed him because he'd randomly, weirdly, walk down the entire length of the bowling alley, passing every single lane. Just watching people bowl, he'd stare for a bit. Then we'd notice him end up back at his lane, all by himself. This one weekend, I went with my friends Jacob, Josh, and Mikey. There was an open lane right next to us, and guess who, out of nowhere, sat down next to us? Creeper Bob. He was setting up a game by himself, and it wasn't long until he started trying to talk to us. He started making comments on our form, interrupting our conversations to tell us weird things, like how long he'd been coming to the alley. Then he said something that made all of us uncomfortable. He said he watches us play every weekend from across the alley, and he decided tonight was the night to come over and introduce himself. He tried to play it off like he was trying to be some kind of friendly bowling teacher, but really it was just annoying and, most of all, creepy. It got worse. At one point, I was up to bowl, and Bob actually entered our lane. He grabbed my wrist with his hands to position me into what he called an allegedly better form. I never gave him permission to touch me, nor did I ask for his guidance. We were only 13, though, so none of us stood up and said, "Yo, get lost," or anything. I could just feel the unease rise among my friends. Every moment that man was touching me, I felt more and more disgusted. We cut our night at the bowling alley short because of him. We used the money that we would have used on more games to get pizza instead, at a place further down the block. When we came out, Jacob and Mikey went their own way, since they lived on a different block. It was just Josh and me walking back in the direction of our houses. As we did, the sound of a car engine starting made us turn around. We noticed an old SUV, like a Ford Explorer, banging a three-point turn. We both immediately thought it, Creeper Bob. The SUV started slowly tailing us as we walked down the street. We picked up our pace. The SUV then pulled up right alongside us, and the window rolled down. It was him. "I can offer you a ride home," he said. We said no thanks and kept walking. He replied, "It's not safe for a couple of kids to be walking around late at night." We weren't even that young. We were young teenagers, not little kids. It was crazy that he thought we were young enough to trick into getting into his car, when we made it clear we weren't getting in. He pulled to the side of the road and just parked his car. Josh and I decided to start jogging home. When we reached the intersection where Wed split off, we said bye, and I continued jogging home. By the time I made it back, I was completely out of breath. Running after eating pizza is not a good idea. My dad was already asleep because he worked weekends, and my mom was out with her girlfriends. I wasn't supposed to ring the bell because my dad didn't want to be woken up. I went around back to get the key we had for the back door, which was hidden in the shed. When I got out of the shed, I thought I heard something, a twig snap, maybe. I should have listened to my gut. I went to the back door to unlock it. As I opened the door, I heard the sound of someone running up fast behind me. Before I could fully turn around, someone pushed me hard from behind, shoving me inside the house. A hand clamped over my mouth, and a heavy arm wrapped tight around my neck. I couldn't see who it was because I couldn't turn my head. I scratched and clawed at the man's hand. I may have only been 13, but I was able to put up enough of a fight to get him to lose his grip a few times, just enough for me to scream, "Dad!" This undoubtedly scared him off. He finally let go for good and ran back outside. I didn't look back. I just ran up the half-flight of stairs to the main floor and yelled for my dad. He came rushing out of his room, and after I told him what just happened, he checked the backyard and all around the property. He came back inside alone. I told him everything about the man from the bowling alley, how we nicknamed him Creeper Bob, how he followed Josh and me in his SUV after admitting to stalking us. My dad filed a police report and tried getting the bowling alley to release the video surveillance from that night, but they refused. I was never allowed to go back there after my mom found out about this. Not that I'd ever want to. The crazy thing is, technically, I can't say with 100% certainty that the man who came in behind me and grabbed me was the man from the bowling alley, but realistically, how slim are the chances that it wasn't him? When I was a teenager, my close group of friends were, I guess, what you'd call delinquents. We liked causing trouble, breaking rules, and messing around in places we didn't belong. I grew up in a suburb in northern New Jersey, so maybe we were just spoiled kids with nothing better to do. One of the things we really liked to do was go exploring in the late hours of the night. Usually, we hit abandoned buildings. This particular night, we were planning on a riskier task. There were 5 of us, me, Chip, Jason, Rowan, and Anish. Rowan had a tendency to bounce from job to job, which was a running joke in our squad. He'd lose jobs as quickly as he got them, usually for the dumbest reasons. He had just picked up a GIG as an attendant at a bowling alley a few towns over. I am sure you can see where this is going. He'd been entrusted with the key to close up Anish, who was a master of persuasion, somehow convinced Rowan to let us explore the bowling alley at 3 a.m. I'm telling you, Anish could convince someone to give them their kidney. That's how persistent he was. The 5 of us agreed to get a little drunk before going. We all had a substantial amount to drink, except for Jason. He refused to go anywhere unless he was the one driving his dad's nice BMW. He liked being able to end our nights when he got tired. I was the heavy drinker of the squad. It's not something I am proud of, but it just meant I usually took risky situations less seriously than I should have. Jason drove us to the location. Rowan unlocked the door, and the 5 of us made our way inside. Chip was usually the most cautious, and he kept telling us to be careful in his hilariously high-pitched voice. Rowan told us we couldn't actually do any bowling, which we were all a little upset about. I had the genius, drunk idea of doing makeshift sliding on the lanes, as if they were slip-and-slides. Since we were buzzed, this was pretty fun. We soon tired ourselves out and decided to do some real exploring. We asked Rowan if there were any back rooms, and he told us there were. We made our way into the employee-only area, and Rowan led us to some kind of storage room. We started poking around and flipping things over, just being stupid and careless. We figured Rowan was gonna get fired anyway, so we weren't too concerned with messing things up. As we started getting bored, we heard a deafening bump from below us. The 5 of us froze, just staring at each other. Jason, the only sober one, asked if the place had a basement. Rowan looked just as shocked as we were and said he had no prior knowledge of a potential basement. Anish grinned, eager to continue exploring. Chip seemed really nervous, telling us we were probably going to end up getting Rowan fired. We were whispering, arguing whether we wanted to go look for this hypothetical basement. Just then, Jason lifted the edge of a rug nestled in the corner, revealing a hatch. The atmosphere in the room instantly shifted. The situation was now serious. Even if we had found the way into the basement, that sound we heard was still unexplained. I don't think any of us really wanted to go down there, but Jason, in his classic level-headed style, flung the latch open and stared down at an old, rusted ladder leading into the darkness. "Screw this," whispered Chip, motioning for us to leave. Jason ignored him. He pulled out his phone, shined the flashlight into the blackness, and without another word, he descended into the abyss. I could tell Rowan, Anish, and Chip were a little scared. Understandably, I still had a lot of liquid confidence. So I decided I'd go next. Anish followed behind me, and Rowan brought up the rear. Chip refused to come down. The four of us pulled out our phone flashlights and began exploring the basement. It was filled with dust and cardboard boxes stacked up to the ceiling. There was nothing else down there. Or at least, that's what we originally thought. Anish noticed a door in the corner, and we walked over to it. Jason put his hand on the handle. A split second before he was going to open it, we heard a distinctive bump come from the other side, identical to the one we heard earlier. We looked at each other with horrified looks on our faces. I was pretty freaked out at this point and turned away to leave, but Jason, like an idiot, cracked the door open. It revealed another storage room, but that's not all that was in there. In the corner of the room, there was a human figure sitting on the ground with its legs crossed, facing away from us. We were frozen in place, utterly terrified, after a full minute of dead silence. The person in the corner banged their head hard against the wall, explaining the sounds. I began tiptoeing to the ladder, careful not to make any noise. The rest of my friends turned around and began doing the same. Just then, Rowan tripped on a piece of junk on the floor and cursed loudly. The person in the room yelled, and we ran. Jason and I were up the ladder in a split second, with Anish close behind. Chip was leaned over the hatch, concerned with what he was hearing. Anish made it up, and the three of us ran out of the room, but we heard Rowan scream, "Get off me!" Anish and Jason were too terrified to turn back. I ran back into the room and saw Chip, one, who was too scared to even come down, chucking a metal pipe down the hatch. His throw was followed by a demonic scream. Rowan scrambled up the ladder, and Chip grabbed his wrist, yanking him up. Rowan ran toward me while Chip slammed the hatch shut. The five of us sprinted out of the bowling alley, and Rowan hastily locked the door with trembling hands. Jason drove us back with a blank look on his face. We listened as Rowan described what happened. Apparently, whoever had been in the basement jumped on Rowan's back, clawing at him. Chip came to his rescue and nailed Rowan's attacker in the head with that pipe, causing the lunatic to fall backward. Rowan said he only saw the guy's face for a split second. The horrifying face of a dirty, old, homeless-looking guy with a bird's nest of hair on his head. Rowan ended up quitting the next day, without giving his boss an explanation. What we did was definitely illegal. To this day, we have no idea how that guy could have gotten down there. Maybe there was an alternate entrance we had overlooked. Either way, the basement had been intentionally hidden, which tells me that Rowan's boss might have known something about the whole thing. This experience ruined my taste for bowling, which I have not done since. One night, my girlfriend, Rebecca, and I decided it would be fun to go bowling. We drove to the closest alley, rented the shoes, and picked a lane. We were both really bad. Neither of us had been bowling in years. Rebecca, especially, wasn't having fun. She kept getting gutter balls. I was doing a little better, but not by much, so I couldn't even help her. To make matters worse, Rebecca's ex-boyfriend arrived with his group of friends, and they started bowling a few lanes down from us. Rebecca looked away immediately, refusing to even glance in that direction. She whispered at me, "We need to leave now." We packed it up early. She went to the car to wait while I returned our shoes. I think her ex spotted me while I was at the front counter. I just looked away and didn't tell Rebecca. The whole trip was a failure. But I didn't want her to be unhappy. We agreed to go home, play WII bowling, and have some wine instead. When we got home, the night got way better. I turned on the WII and opened a bottle of wine. We played WII bowling for half an hour with music on in the background, drinking and laughing. It was 1,000 times more fun than the real thing. Until the song that was playing ended. In that brief moment of silence, we both heard it, a heavy thud. Like a heavy object being dropped on the floor, coming from upstairs. Rebecca and I looked at each other. She'd heard it too. I turned off the music for good. Now, there was just silence. I went upstairs to investigate. I checked every bedroom, turning all the lights on. I even checked under every bed. I was relieved to find nothing. I wasn't really expecting to find someone. But you have to check when you hear a sound like that. Still, I wondered what actually made the sound, because I didn't find anything on the floor. We went back to our game after another half an hour. We brought our little wine party upstairs to the bedroom and eventually fell asleep. Rebecca's a lightweight, so she got much drunker than me. That probably explains why I was the one to wake up in the middle of the night and not her. I heard what woke me up, another clear, distinct sound of something heavy being dropped. But this time, we were already upstairs. The only thing above us was the attic. The attic door is right outside my bedroom. It's one of those doors with a string you pull to make a metal ladder come down. I tiptoed out of the bedroom, trying not to wake up Rebecca. I stood directly under the attic door and just listened. Every 5 seconds or so, I heard the slightest creaking sounds, like the floorboards shifting from the weight of something moving around. I didn't want to scare Rebecca. I thought maybe an animal had gotten in. I went to the closet and got a broom to use as a possible weapon. Then I quietly pulled the attic door open, and the ladder unfolded. I climbed up into the total darkness. Stopping at the top of the ladder to listen again, I heard the creaking. It was the wooden rocking chair we had up there. I used my phone as a light to reveal the rocking chair. There was someone sitting in it, slowly rocking back and forth. I nearly fell off the ladder. I wanted to run, to hide, to do anything but approach this person. But I gathered the courage to yell, "Who are you?" The rocking stopped. The man turned his head to look at me. He didn't speak. He started making this animalistic, gargling, growling sound. Then he got up. That's when I hurried down the ladder and shoved the attic door back up. "Rebecca, call the cops," I screamed until I heard her acknowledge me. I stayed under the attic door, bracing it with my arms, preventing it from being opened as the man in the attic tried kicking the door open from above. He eventually stopped kicking and I just heard the deranged laughter of a sick, mentally ill person. He was speaking in another language. It sounded Russian. My arms felt like they were going to fall off. But I held that door shut, waiting for the police. When they finally arrived, Rebecca went downstairs to let them in. It was their job to go up there and remove the man. Rebecca and I waited in the living room, sitting on the couch, until we saw them bringing the man out, through the living room, to the front door, in handcuffs. The way the man looked at me said everything. His stare was full of hatred and craziness, with a hint of confusion. His lip was contorted in this bizarre way that would almost make you think he was drunk. We don't know what happened to him. We didn't press civil charges, but I am sure he was charged criminally. If they didn't deem him insane, this happened in the summertime, when we keep the windows open. It was most likely that he squeezed through one of the windows in the backyard. I'm not sure why he picked our house. We may have just been the unlucky house he stumbled across.